So what's really nice is that usually I will do the like it's never been for longest time. It's never been like all the books at once. I usually will finish like the OGNs and some of the movies, and I'll return those like say like next week to pick up the books that come in a bit early, if you say if you will. So I'll go the following week. So this week there's 3 books that didn't finish. Thankfully, only one of them is a library book, and 2 of them were the ones that I had in my collection that those 3 are Avengers World, Batman Year One, and Symbiote Spider-Man. So those ones we'll be seeing. If I can finish those, especially with Avengers World, if I can finish those for like Sunday for Sunday and review them for Sunday or Sunday night along the OGNs, and if I get any movies, you'll get those reviews then. But without further ado, let's get into it. First up is Ironheart, and this is pretty bad. It's just like it's competent. It's good enough pacing to where I at least give it that. But the characters are annoying. They constantly bash Iron Man, and yeah, they will take time to like mourn his death and kind of thing. Like they're not totally like inconsiderate, but it's one of those things where it's like it's very annoying that they do that, and I don't. And on the one hand, he's not like a perfect character. He's a playboy still, and at the end of the day, but like he's at this point in time, he's proven himself to be more than what he is shown to be, But very annoying. They get to prop up the main character, to prop up the new character. It's one of those comics, but it's competently written enough. It had good enough pacing to where it was never like super boring or anything like that. Spidey, a lot like another Robbie Thompson book, has a lot of cringy humor, but I liked it enough. Again, and this is one I read before, along with Ironheart. So, my thoughts didn't really change that much. I mean, a little bit more kind of like, I can kind of see why people wouldn't like this comic. It kind of is a bit redundant. You kind of don't need this. It kind of just retells his origin, retells his first appearance, first like encounters with these villains. And sometimes it's not even his first encounter with the villains. So it'll be like, oh yeah, I tussled with this guy last time, and it's never like, it wasn't like, oh, that happened in the last issue. No, just that's the first issue you in this comic that you've seen these villains. Very weird approach. It's like the Silver Age comics did that. Because Spidey is supposed to be kind of like a new introduction to new readers to Spider-Man. And on one hand, yeah, it's still an introduction. It's kind of weird that they do that with villains. Spider-Gwen is still pretty damn good. Again, the first, I would say, few issues, or this whole thing here, has a lot of stupid humor that does not land at all. But everything else makes up. Everything else makes up for it. So it's not like the humor brings it down at all. It's still, I still give it the same rating regardless. Again, so far all these are rereads. This one I will be returning. This is a Star Wars book, Legacy. I checked out a bit too much. I mean, it's like a few too much. And this was one that I was like, okay, if it's too much, I'm returning this. And sure enough, I am. I just didn't dig the first volume. It's the 3rd time I reread it, the John Ostrander run. I still think it's the best Dark Horse run, but I'm kind of like, yeah. Silk Volume 1 was a nice little surprise, but it has, actually Volume 0, but it has a lot of issues. Main issue is the main character Silk can be extremely annoying and, like, mean-spirited and, like, annoying towards her, like Spider-Man. She's like kind of a jerk to Spider-Man for no reason. They kind of make her into that character. But when it gets into her past, when it gets into her like the mystery of her past and where her parents are and like all that kind of stuff, it does get very, very interesting. I think the first half of this book is really annoying, and the second half is really good. So I am glad that I prematurely put in the request to get Volume 1. This is Volume 0. It was like a mini-series, I guess, and then she got her own ongoing, whom I can gather. Moon Girl Devil Dinosaur is still really good, but Moon Girl is an insufferable character. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, as the books go along, she gets less and less unlikable. There's an issue in here where she meets her like alternate universe character, and she's like, oh my god, she's also insufferable, the alternate universe character. And she's looking at this character, it's like, oh my god, this character is so annoying, and am I that annoying? And like, I wish like that. I mean, I said that was the point where she changes her. So like, she tries to be like less annoying, less know-it-all, and less just irritable. And I don't think that happens right away. I almost want to say it doesn't happen at all. I just got used to her character, and honestly, that's the only complaint I've ever had with these books. So good on Britta and Montclair. It's never boring. It always has really good pacing, but the character is super annoying. Spider-Man and Deadpool is probably Robbie Thompson's best work that I've read thus far. This is absolutely phenomenal. It is my second favorite Deadpool run, right behind Jerry Duggan's run. Yes, it is above Joe Kelly's run. That's saying a lot. Yeah, not every joke works, but I think he has like if he just wrote Deadpool comics or Spider-Man comics and had that level of humor with them, I think he would be regarded as a better writer. Because he honestly, this is the best example of he can actually write funny jokes. I know some modern Marvel can't write the best jokes, but Robbie Thompson can. He tries. The Unbelievable, not Unbeatable, The Unbelievable Gwenpool Volume 1, which was a nice surprise. This is what I was expecting from like what I've heard about Gwenpool, and this did not disappoint at all. Definitely check this one out if you haven't already, if you're skeptical like me. And this is the first volume. I believe she has 2 first volumes. I know she has 2 series, because everyone was saying they hated the second series. Which I really hope it's not volume 2. Like, this was a mini-series, and then we get the... I don't think it would be, though, because they had her dabbing, and that was 2015. But I think even then it was, like, outdated. Like, it was, like, 10 years after dabbing was, like a big thing. That was that stupid little dance move I thought was cool for, like, 10 seconds. Captain Marvel Volume 2. One more of this, and then we're done. I still like this run. This is the only Captain... This is, like, the... Like, I don't understand people don't like this run, but I do. But I don't, again, like, it's very, like... I think people that hate Captain Marvel, the modern version of Captain Marvel, a lot of that comes in the movies. And I can completely get behind that. But here, if they just adapted this, it would actually have been a good movie. But they didn't. They adapted whatever they wanted to. It wasn't good. And I might just check out Kelly Thompson's run. I know, like, nowadays she's, like, super overpowered. And what I've heard, like, when people complain about, like, a new Captain Marvel comic where she's insanely overpowered, or she, like, beats this villain with ease, they want to prop up her character. Yeah, that's really annoying. I don't like that, but it's not shown here. Like, here she's shown to be a bit more vulnerable. Yeah, she's still insanely powerful, but she's shown to be a bit more vulnerable, and not as annoying as she can get. Especially in Civil War 2. That's egregious. I think that's when people started hating her character, actually. The more I think about it. Ghost Rider, all new Ghost Rider Volume 1 is how you do a new version of these characters. An updated 2014 version. We didn't, a lot of times they don't do it too well. They have to, like the Ironheart. They fail with Ironheart. This does what Ironheart wanted to do. Make the new character just as interesting as the original, and gives them a reason to exist. This is an absolutely fantastic comic, and I read it for a second time, and it's just as good, if not more, than the first time. It's highly recommended. It would be my pick of the week, but I don't do that for the rereads. And honestly, I still would have Walking Dead be the pick of the week for the rereads. Doctor Strange Volume 3, still really good. I still really like Jason Aaron's run. I think each and every time I find more and more to appreciate. The first time I read it, I was like, yeah, it's good, not great. But each time I've read it, it's gone a little bit above. So like I would say when I started out, it was a 7 out of 10. Now it's gone to like an 8 out of 10. Powers is a good example of not every book is better the second time you read it. a lot of the problem with this book is that the pacing is very off. There's a lot of dialogue, and sometimes it's completely unnecessary. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I like that I had a lot of dialogue, like the interrogation scene at the end, and other moments similar to that. But they had news segments. The news segments, it was one where it was like the bottom half was all news segments, and the top half was the story, like continuing. And I would not have minded if they cut off that bottom half, and I was none the wiser, because that hurt the pacing so hard that I almost dropped the book entirely. Now I'm not gonna get volume 2. They only have the first 2 volumes. I don't want to get really hooked on the second volume, and then this is just to read a book with Omen artwork and to reread this one again. It's been a while. Super stuttery. Hellboy Volume 1 is a pretty slow start to an amazing comic series. I kind of forgot how slow this first volume was. I think it's because of how much better it gets as it goes along, and I still like this. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I forgot how slow this was. So I always think of Hellboy as being like that fast-paced comic you could read in like half the time it takes you to read a comic. But this one took me just it takes about on average 20 minutes to read a comic, like and a standard issue. Silver Age is an hour, but everything else it's about like 20 to 30 minutes, like 30 minutes for like a 80s comic, like the Hulk. When I was reading the Hulk, that took me about a half hour, but this one took me about 25 minutes, and I felt each minute. So still good, but it gets if you read this volume and you're like, this is really slow and not understanding why people like this character, keep reading the next volumes. Thankfully, it's only 4 volumes for at least the first volume, so I think the next 2 are 4 issues. I could be wrong though. Lumberjanes Volume 4. I said a little while ago, oh, this series isn't as good as it used to. As the first few volumes are still good, but there's something missing. Well, they changed at least in this volume, it's no longer written by the writer of Moonstruck. I can't remember her name right now. Grace Ellis. It's co-written by Shannon Walters. Still written by Noelle Stevenson, but the co-writer is no longer Grace Ellis. It's now Shannon Walters. Or Waters. Did I say Walters? Is it Waters? Waters, not Walters. Waters. My dyslexia kicks in. And like the last 2 volumes, it's still good, but it's kind of like it's becoming less and less good. It's slowly but surely not being like a 9 out of 10, an 8.5 out of 10. It's kind of going to an 8 out of 10. Whatever I gave it, it's subtract 0.5 from that for this volume. Why the Last Man is fantastic. It is my 4th favorite comic of all time, and there's a reason why that is. I honestly would say so far, if I really think about it, it is above Transmetropolitan. But absolutely fantastic work. If you haven't read the series, read it immediately. I can't imagine anybody not liking it unless it gets the ending. Which, to be fair, if you are disappointed with kind of like disappointing endings, you probably should be prepared for a disappointing ending. I'm not gonna say what happens, obviously, but you can like make an argument. Oh well, this is what they're trying to do with the ending, but it's still very disappointing and still very kind of like annoying if anything. But it didn't hurt the comic. It's still my 4th favorite comic of all time. It's one of those comics that everything else is so good, but the ending is just like, yeah, whatever. Neil Gaiman, Sandman Volume 2. I'll be taking a break from this series. There's just so much. Like I was reading this volume, I'm like, there's just so much I remember from this series. Why am I rereading it? Yeah, to watch the Netflix show and so I can have a true comparison to the comics. I'm not like, did they adapt that? Or I kind of don't remember how they adapted that. Like, kind of that thing. And I'm sure I still will have that feeling, but I'm not sure if I'll keep reading this series. It always this will never be one of my favorite comics of all time. If it was, it'd be a top 50, and this would be number 50. Because this is like it's good. I understand people like it, and I still like it, and I've come to appreciate it. Of the 900 times I tried to get into this time, I've tried to get into it. The 1000th was the best, but still not great. Wonder Girl Homecoming, just as good as the first time, if not better. Wonder Woman, Batman Defense, the last volume, not as good as the previous volumes, and I can kind of understand people don't like these volumes. Still good, but not great. Still, but overall, her run is great. Robin, Son of Batman. Ray Fox comes to write the series. I didn't know that. Like he writes the last few issues, and they're pretty damn good. Still kind of all over the place, and I didn't really, kind of confusing at times, but still really good. Batman, not like super good. It's just like comically written. That was starring what they call it, Convergence, and it's one of the better Convergence ones. Batman, Wardrobes and Riddles. It's pretty like crazy and weird and all over the place, but I still like it enough. Like it's just enough, good enough. All-Star Batman is fantastic. Scott Snyder, it's proof Scott Snyder can, like modern Scott Snyder can be just as good as he was before. Disappointing, very disappointing. Batman Fortress was very slow. The writing was terrible. The story could have been good, but the writing was just it's boring, honestly. Archie Volume 6 ends a fantastic Archie book. Read this immediately, even if you're not a huge fan of Archie. That's how you do modern runs and modern interpretations and everything like that. Walking Dead Book 10, fantastic comic book. Not a lot to say. That I already said about the series. It's fantastic. I love it so much. I've loved coming back to reread it. And Klaus, the third time I've read it, or even fourth, is still very good. One of Grant Morrison's best comics ever. That's it.